gentlemen, assassin, Mercader.
G'day guys, Merc here. Today I'm going to be talking about the upcoming Legion class changes for rogues, and there's some pretty crazy stuff in here, to be honest. Combat's getting removed, well, quote unquote removed, because it's getting revamped so majorly that they've decided to rename it, basically. But we'll get into that in a second. The three specs are staying pretty much. Subtlety is still going to be subtlety. Assassination is still going to be assassination. But yeah, combat is getting a huge revamp. And basically, the reason Blizzard said they wanted to do this huge revamp of the specs with rogues and with other classes as well is because there just wasn't enough differentiation between these specs. When you play assassination, for instance, it doesn't feel super different apart from having Shadow Dance as subtlety to playing subtlety. You know, there isn't that real set apart ability set or mechanic that allows you to feel like you're playing a different spec when you change spec. Everything feels pretty much the same. Alright, so Assassination. Assassination is staying pretty much Assassination, but it does look like a few things are changing. Regarding Garrote, first up, it looks like you can now do it outside of stealth, but when used in stealth, silences the target for 3 seconds. So it's basically the same ability, but can now be used outside of stealth by the looks of things, unless I'm reading this wrong. But now has a 15-second cooldown. So it has a 15-second cooldown, and will cause them to bleed for around that, I'd imagine. So you can keep it refreshed on your target and use it to trigger your venomous wounds. I'll get into that in a minute, but it looks like Garrote now triggers venomous wounds the same as Rupture did. So Mutilate doesn't really change too much. Envenom doesn't change. Rupture doesn't change either. However, venomous wounds will now trigger from any bleed, not just Rupture. So having your Garrote up on the target will trigger that. And I'm hoping it stacks with Rupture so that you'll get the venomous wounds procs from both of those and not just one at a time like it currently is on the live Warlords of Draenor build. So it looks like you're going to have different talents depending on which spec you go. And one of the assassination specific talents that they've given here is called Elaborate Planning, which is a passive. And it's that your finishing moves grant 20% increased damage done for 4 seconds. So Mutilate is the kind of spec where you can spam Envenoms. It looks like it's going to be another damage buff that we can really use to dole out that huge amount of burst that Assassination is known for. But still keep it fairly unique to the actual spec. I don't know whether this is going to be the kind of thing where you could use like a 1 combo point finisher, which would then give you that 20% increased damage and just abuse the hell out of that, or whether that wouldn't even be worth it. But anyway, it's worth looking into a bit more, and it just shows that Blizzard's putting a bit more time into setting the specs apart. So let's talk combat, also now known as Outlaw. The revamp is making it Outlaw. Combat will be gone in Legion, completely transformed into this completely new spec, which is slightly more, I guess, pirate themed. Some kind of swordmaster, swashbuckling, you know, rogue, daredevil, whatever you want to call it. Someone who's not fond of stealth, but likes getting into trouble. And I look at the new class abilities and I'm just thinking Captain Jack Sparrow ? Because just really, the way it looks like a pirate spec. You're going to be coming in for the occasional sword slash and then popping back out to shoot them with your pistol. And Blizzard has some interesting talents which are focused around that. So looking more in depth at your combat talents, Saber Slash looks to be replacing Sinister Strike, I'd presume. If it doesn't replace it entirely from the ability list, it's probably going to be what you're going to use instead. So it says, viciously slash an enemy, causing moderate physical damage and awarding 1 combo point. So it's a combo point building ability. And it says Saber Slash has a 35% chance to strike an additional time, granting additional damage and combo point, making your next pistol shot free. So it basically sounds like a highly improved glyphed Sinister Strike. And the next interesting part is obviously that pistol shot. And it's a 40 energy, 20 yard range attack. Doesn't require any cast time. It's kind of like, I guess, a shuriken toss. Yeah, basically the new shuriken toss for combat only. And it does reduce the target's movement speed as well. And from what I've read in the class readouts, Mutilate's going to be the only one, or Assassination's going to be the only one with access to poisons, which kind of weirded me out, but it looks like maybe the other specs are going to have movement reducing abilities that they're going to be able to use in order to compensate for this, because obviously a rogue without run speed reducing abilities for its targets, it wouldn't be that fun to play. I don't think, anyway. I like being able to slow people down and, you know, plan out my attack. Slice and Dice is the old combat staple, and that's staying the same. Run Through, however, is completely new. And that is a 35 energy finishing move, obviously, 1 to 5 combo points. And it says lunging finishing move that causes damage per combo point and has increased range. So I'm guessing this is going to be some kind of either replacement Death from Above, if Death from Above is getting removed from the talent tree, or however that's working. I'm hoping it's staying, because I personally really like Death from Above. But it looks like it's going to be another gap closer, something that you can use to get to your target, or even get away from your target. Perhaps it'll help you kite in the other direction, trick people up. It has a lot of potential for what you can actually do with it. I'm presuming it's not going to require any kind of charge line or charge path that, you know, Charge is famous for. So hoping it's going to be some kind of Death from Above style ability that puts you directly on your target, and that I can have a lot of fun with as a outlaw rogue. It kind of sounds weird to say. A couple of things that are going to really make combat distinct are the fact that combat rogues can now, keep saying combat rogues, outlaw rogues can now only use ambush as an opener. So no stun openers is going to mean you're going to have to get combo points on your target quickly and get a kidney shot before they get away, because not having an opener, not having that opening few seconds to initiate and execute your attack, I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel like that's one of the things that rogues have just always had, and it's going to be interesting to see just how this affects gameplay, because it's going to be like playing an entirely new class with that being the only opener. It just seems different. And don't worry, combat is retaining Killing Spree, but it is going to be talented now, going back to those unique spec-only talents, which I find is interesting, because we're probably going to have to choose between it and something else we really want to play as an outlaw rogue. With that said, you're also going to get things like Quick Draw, which is a passive and says free uses of pistol shot granted by Saber Slash now generate 1 additional combo point and deal 50% increased damage. So it seems like the talents and how you choose them could directly and very, severely impact the way you play the spec. Like, it could play completely differently depending on how you talent, which is very cool. I like the diversity that Blizzard are putting in here. It's going to be interesting. Alright, so moving on to Subtlety, and Subtlety is getting quite a lot of changes as well to the spec. Retaining the Subtlety name, of course, but you're going to get some abilities which are going to be a little weird. Kind of combinations of abilities that we've already had, all rolled into one. I don't know how many of our actual beloved older abilities we're going to lose, whether these are going to replace, you know, 2 abilities, or whether they're going to be like additional abilities. I have no idea at this point. Blizzard hasn't said enough about it. But anyway, going into it, Shadow Strike looks to be a combination of Ambush and Shadow Step, which can only be used while in stealth. It's a 40 energy ability with a 30-yard range, so quite significant range on that. It looks to be like one of your openers. I'm going to be presuming that you're going to be able to still get Subterfuge with Subtlety, and having this opener, you could just pop right in on a target with Shadow Strike, then open up with a cheap shot, and you're on your way to the rest of your rotation. Speaking of the rest of your rotation, Backstab is staying the same, but Nightblade is a brand new finisher. And as I said, some of your rogue specs are going to be losing some of their poisons, I believe. As I said, I still don't know which ones these are going to be. But with that said, Nightblade is a new finisher which is going to reduce the movement speed of your target and deal damage over time. So you're going to be using this in conjunction with Eviscerate. I'm presuming Nightblade is replacing Rupture. And, you know, Nightblade's going to be your damage over time finisher, and then you're going to be, you know, smashing your target with Eviscerates. Alright, so another ability that Subtlety is getting is called Shadow Techniques, which is your auto attacks have a chance to generate an additional combo point. So basically you're getting Seal Fate as Subtlety. I'm presuming this is replacing Honor Among Thieves. So a lot of revamped abilities, a lot of things look to be getting changed. I'm presuming that none of these things are going to be stacking or even in the game with their older counterpart abilities. So Shadow Dance is getting a major change also. Your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point to activate Stealth. For 3 seconds, this stealth will not break when you auto attack or take damage. So it's basically vanish every time you do a 5 combo point finisher, which is going to be quite often. Hoping it's going to be able to be comboed up with Subterfuge, and I mean, I might DR myself crazy with this, but it's going to be cool to play around with regardless. Also, when this effect occurs, a shadow decoy will appear nearby, confusing your enemies, which I think is pretty hilarious. If you're vanishing every 3 seconds, there's going to be a whole lot of yous standing around, confusing the shit out of whoever you may be fighting. It's pretty funny. And also comboing up this ability, this new Shadow Dance, with one of the new subtlety specific talents that they've mentioned, Relentless Strikes, you gain an additional 40 energy when you enter stealth. You're going to be getting refunded for that energy that you used in that finisher, and be able to, get straight back into damaging the target as soon as you re-enter stealth. So it's a big damage bonus, big energy bonus, and it's going to really help your burst rotation. And it's, another example of one of these subtlety specific and, spec specific talents that Blizzard is putting in to differentiate the three specs. I'm getting tired of saying specs. Long story short, it's really cool. There's a lot of amazing changes, and I'm actually really excited to play Rogue and Legion after reading all of this. So I hope you guys are excited too. Make sure you hit the video with a like, and thank you for watching this far into it. This is Merc Out. Cheers.